Are you aware, Dr. Marshall, that the Federal Energy Minister now openly states he's afraid for our electricity supply due to looming high energy prices, unreliability and grid instability due to intermittent solar and wind energy?
Senator, I'm aware that there's instabilities in the grid as a result of the intermittency of renewable energy.
Yeah, and my constituents are worried also, so I'm asking on their behalf. Are you aware that the Howard Anderson government from 1996 to 2007 enacted policies such as the renewable energy target, about which former Prime Minister Howard now expresses profound regret?
Again, Senator, these are matters of policy that are outside my scope.
I'm just asking if you're aware.
Senator, I can answer any question about CSIRO, but I really can't answer questions about policy.
So are you aware that starting in 1996 through to 2007, the Howard Anderson Liberal Nationals federal government, jointly with state governments, appropriated farmers' property rights and in doing so deliberately bypassed Australia's federal constitution and avoided paying compensation to landowners, totalling what some say would cost farmers hundreds of billions of dollars?
Again, that is outside scope.
I can't see that, Chair, with respect, because that's just a known fact. I'm asking the doctor if he's aware of it. I'm not asking him for his opinion on the Howard government policy.
Senator, I can only testify on matters relating to the CSIRO.
That's what I'm getting to. Are you aware of that?
Not policy, though, Senator.
Okay. Are you aware that in 2014, 7 years after being removed from office in 2007, former Prime Minister John Howard publicly admitted being agnostic on climate science?
Again,
After
Senator,
doing all these policies, he admitted he's agnostic.
Senator, you'd have to ask him, not me.
I have asked him. I'm wanting to know if you're aware.
Senator, I'll answer any question relating to CSIRO.
Are you aware then that my own Freedom of Information request on CSIRO in 2013 for documents sent to ministers between 2005 and 2013 revealed no correspondence at all on climate from the Chief Executive to ministers?
There's no reason why Mr Marshall would be aware of that.
Well, he's head of the CSIRO.
Since 2015, Senator, I can speak for that period.
My point is here that my reason for requesting whether or not you know is that similar Freedom of Information requests on BOM have shown that no scientific evidence has been sent to ministers between 2005 and 2013. My recent parliamentary library request has failed to identify any documents from CSIRO to MPs containing logical scientific points proving causation. So I've asked a number of MPs, a number of ministers, none has been able to give me any evidence for the basis of their claims. The father of the Senate, Senator Ian MacDonald, in 2016 said that Australia's Parliament has never had a debate or discussion about the climate science. So there are so many avenues I've tried and I can't seem to find anyone who can give me the evidence. So what I'd like you to do, on notice, is please provide a list of the documents in which CSIRO has provided scientific advice to ministers, including Prime Ministers, to MPs and to Senators, and containing logical scientific points proving that carbon dioxide from human activity needs to be cut.
Senator, I can give you some of that now if you'd like.
I'd like it all comprehensively, please, with a timeline.
This is the increase in CO2 as measured from our Cape Grim facility. This is the measurement of the isotope of CO2.
Aware of that.
That's emitted by the burning of fossil fuels.
We've given you a response to both of them.
As measured by ice cores.
We've given you a response to both of them.
This is the data measured, the orange curve is measured by BOM, the increase in the Earth's temperature, and the blue curve is measured by CSIRO, the increase in the temperature of the Southern Ocean. Data's pretty irrefutable, Senator. And
yes.
Happily put those on, happily table those for the Senate.
So I'd like you to please provide a list of the documents. List of the documents that CSIRO has provided that include scientific advice to ministers, including Prime Ministers, to MPs and to Senators, and containing logical scientific points proving that carbon dioxide from human activity needs to be cut. I'd also like you to provide, on notice, CSIRO's specific formal policy advice on climate, and I need to know the basis for current policies already destroying people's jobs, livelihoods, lifestyles and cost of living. And to do my due diligence for my constituents, I require the following. I want to know the type of document, whether it was a letter, a report, a reference, an article, journal, paper and email. I want to know the date that CSIRO provided the documents. I want to know the recipients' names and titles. I want to know the identification of documents provided, being title, date, author's names and publisher. And I want identification in particular and the specific location of the logical scientific points upon which CSIRO's advice is relying. By logical scientific point, Dr. Marshall, I mean the empirical scientific evidence within a logical scientific framework proving cause and effect. I want by location, I want it within a reference document, and I mean page numbers, sentences and or data table, especially when your point relies on reference to another document, such as a UN IPCC report or State of the Climate report. And the last thing I'd like, Chair, is the date range for documents is from the start of the Howard Anderson government on 11th of March 1996 to the present.
Senator Roberts, with due respect, I mean, I'm happy for Dr. Marshall to take that on notice, but that is an extraordinarily large diversion of resources.
That's a very small diversion. No, with respect, I've checked through the Parliamentary Library, I've checked through BOM, I've checked through Csiro. Csiro itself, as Chief Executive, has never sent a document between 2005 and 2013 to the... So I would like these documents that detail the scientific, logical points proving that carbon dioxide from human activity affects climate.
So, Senator, I'll probably have to read through the Hansard to understand what I'm taking on notice before I can...
I'm happy to put it to you in writing.
Notice. That'd be great if you wouldn't mind. That'd be terrific. But, Senator, just one other thing. There is an assumption in your question. I think you're assuming that the basis of our advice to the Australian government in my time has been around, you know, whether climate change is real or the scientific basis of that. But that is not what is driving Australia's response to climate action. It's got nothing to do with the science. And we can totally support the science, I'm not worried about that. But Senator, the rest of the world is going through a fundamental market shift, which means our coal is at risk, our natural gas is at risk. And the advice we're giving the Australian government is, what do we do about that? And surely you've seen the major shifts in Europe, the United States, and even in China. Well, I'm just looking at the global emissions here, Senator. I know you can't see Australia. We're very low down here, but China started to plateau. Europe tailed off over the last several years. The US tailed off. US, of course, largely because they shifted from coal to gas, and gas has much lower emissions than coal. But that's the nature of the world. So it's a market shift, Senator. It's got way beyond the science now.
So it's way beyond the science?
Way beyond.
Well, I'm interested in the science.
Fine.
So thank you for agreeing to do that, and I'll put it in writing so you...
Senator Roberts, can I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
Because Dr. Marshall, you said earlier, I noted you said that the world will buy less of our coal and gas. The IEA in their latest projections, and I brought it up, and I'm quoting here from an analysis of the IEA's stated policy scenarios, that, and I quote, Australia is one of the few major exporters projected to increase coal production to 2040. So why do you have different estimates or estimates that disagree with the International Energy Agency on Australia's coal production? I'm not talking about global coal. I'm talking about Australia's global coal, Australia's coal exports.
Well, Senator, the UK, I don't think actually buys any more coal.
No, we don't sell any coal to the UK.
No, buys wood.
No, I'm saying, sorry, just to be clear, you said earlier that you felt the world will buy less of our coal.
Yes.
Yeah, but the International Energy Agency projects that under their stated policy scenario, which is their central scenario, that we're one of the few major exporters to increase coal exports on the range of their projections to 2040.
Senator,
so I'm just wondering, where are your estimates coming from if they disagree with the International Energy Agency?
Senator, looking at Europe's buying patterns,
we don't sell coal
China's
to Europe.
buying patterns,
We don't sell coal to Europe.
The UK's buying patterns, the world market for coal is declining.
This is the problem. Okay, how much coal? So Dr. Marshall, how much coal do we produce? How much of the world's coal does Australia produce?
Senator, I could give you that on notice.
Okay, you're making fairly strong claims about coal projections. I would have thought, given those strong claims, you would know a basic fact like that. The figure's about 5%. I mean, this is the issue. I've got no dispute. I'm not disputing your projection. Just to be clear here, I'm not disputing your projection that the forecasts are for global coal demand to fall, although only slightly. in global terms, including Asia. But our coal, given its high quality, is actually projected to increase its market share under most scenarios. So I'm just wondering, why is your advice to government so different, seemingly, indeed diametrically opposed to the major projections of organisations like the International Energy Agency? And I wonder whether you actually really seem to have a deep understanding of global coal markets and our position in them.
Senator, I probably have a deep understanding of how market shifts work. Right. And as they say, shift happens. We've seen this in the deregulation of telecommunications. We've seen it in the birth of the internet. 5 years ago, when we dramatically increased our investment in hydrogen, there was very little interest in financial markets in hydrogen. When we made our breakthrough with the hydrogen cracker and FMG stepped in.
With all due respect, my question's not
the year
about
after that,
it's not about
global funding increased.
Telecommunications. So my question is
about
you've raised the issue of coal, not me.
Before they happen,
you've raised the issue of coal demand, not me. Ask it about coal. Why? What analysis have you done, separate or better or different, from the International Energy Agency that gives you the confidence to disagree with those projections about Australia's coal exports?
Senator...
Not generalities. You're a science-based organisation. I would have thought you've done some scientific analysis on this if you're going to make bold claims about our second major export.
I'm in disbelief that you can't see the global decline in demand for coal.
Dr Marshall, I get pretty frustrated if you're going to misquote me. I said very clearly that I agree with you that the central projections are for global coal demand to decline. I said that, and I'll say it again. What we are arguing about, what we are discussing, is what will be the projections for Australian coal exports, because even in a declining market, our exports could increase, as the IEA projects, but you don't.
Senator, our role is to use science and technology to solve Australia's challenges. It takes a while to cook science and technology, so a really important part of our role is looking ahead so that we're prepared. That's the reason that 5 years ago we invested against a possible pandemic and were able to be on the front foot when COVID hit. That's the reason that we're ahead.
My question's got nothing
on
to
hydrogen.
do with COVID.
No.
I mean,
Senator
so look, obviously we're not going to go. Chair, I'll conclude here because we're not going to solve this issue. But I just make the point that here in this estimates, Dr Marshall is saying that CSIRO has very clear projections about our country's second biggest export, over 50,000 Australians employed in, and he lacks, or his organisation seems to lack, a basic understanding and detail of coal markets. So I hope the government, given that, is not putting a lot of confidence in your estimates. I'd also note the CSIRO advised the Australian government in the 1960s that there wasn't going to be enough coal in Australia to export to Japan. Luckily, at the time, the government ignored the CSIRO and proceeded with the development of the Hunter and Bowen basins at the time. So perhaps the government should adopt a similar approach here, because honestly, Dr Marshall, your advice does not seem to be extremely well informed about coal markets.
Senator Canavan.